useless organization. It doesn't actually exist.
ECOWAS has just issued a threat. Military force is now on the table. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré and his Sahel allies didn't flinch. Instead, they declared, an attack on one is an attack on all. How did we get here? Why is West Africa suddenly on the brink of a regional war? Let's find out. It was supposed to be just another summit. Quiet, procedural, maybe a few statements about regional security and economic growth. But what came out of ECOWAS headquarters this time was anything but routine. In a sharp turn, the West African bloc announced it was preparing for what could become the most serious internal conflict the region has seen in decades. The target? The alliance of Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, 3 nations that have defied the rules, turned their backs on ECOWAS, and created their path. Now ECOWAS wants to pull them back in, by any means necessary. For the first time since their withdrawal earlier this year, the tone from ECOWAS has shifted from disappointment to open hostility. The new leadership of the bloc, under mounting pressure from international partners, has publicly declared that it will not tolerate what it describes as unconstitutional military regimes.
Across West Africa, a storm is brewing. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, long regarded as the region's anchor of cooperation and stability, now faces one of the gravest challenges in its history. 3 of its former members, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, have formed a new bloc, the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES. Their decision has ignited a wave of uncertainty, speculation, and diplomatic tension. Has West Africa reached a breaking point, and what does this mean for the continent's future, and for global partners watching from afar? Founded in 1975, ECOWAS was conceived as a beacon of regional unity, a framework to promote economic integration, free movement, and collective security among 15 West African nations. Over decades, it helped ease tensions after civil wars and guided transitions of power. But by 2025, ECOWAS faces a profound identity crisis. Its commitment to democracy and constitutional order has collided with a series of military takeovers, from Mali in 2020 to Burkina Faso in 2022 and Niger in 2023. Each coup brought sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and mounting resentment toward ECOWAS leadership, particularly from populations who saw the organization as favoring foreign interests over local sovereignty. In September 2023, amid mounting frustration, the leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger signed the Liptako-Gourma Charter, the document that would form the Alliance of Sahel States. The pact promised mutual defense and cooperation in security and development. 2 years later, the alliance has become more than a symbol of resistance. It has its own flag, joint military council, and increasingly, a shared foreign policy vision. In January 2024, the AES leaders announced their intent to withdraw from ECOWAS. By January 2025, that withdrawal was complete. To their supporters, the exit signaled independence from external pressure. To ECOWAS officials, it was a serious setback to regional unity, a fracture that could undermine decades of integration. The Sahel, a vast belt of land stretching from Senegal to Sudan, a region rich in resources but plagued by instability. For years, armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the so-called Islamic State have ravaged communities. Tens of thousands have died, millions have been displaced. Frustrated by what they see as the failure of Western-backed interventions and ECOWAS's political inaction, the Sahel leaders, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali, and General Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger, pledged to take control of their own security. They established a joint military force of 5,000 soldiers and turned to new partners for support, most notably Russia. In April 2025, their foreign ministers met in Moscow to formalize a strategic partnership covering arms, training, and energy. This deepening alignment has stirred unease in Abuja and Accra, where ECOWAS headquarters and Ghanaian leadership view the move as a drift away from Pan-African consensus toward a more polarized bloc politics. For ECOWAS, the secession of 3 members was a serious blow, not only symbolically, but strategically. Collectively, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger occupy more than 1/3 of West Africa's land mass and hold key mineral and energy reserves. At emergency sessions in Abuja and Accra, ECOWAS leaders condemned what they called an erosion of constitutional governance. While they stopped short of declaring war, official communiques warned that the organization reserves the right to take all necessary measures to restore order. That language sparked a media storm. Some interpreted it as a veiled threat of intervention. Others saw it as a desperate attempt to maintain relevance. Amid this standoff, one nation's position has drawn particular attention. Ghana, though not part of the Sahel bloc, Accra's voice carries significant weight within ECOWAS. In late 2024, Ghana began quietly mediating between the Sahel leaders and ECOWAS. Its diplomats argue that dialogue, not sanctions or saber-rattling, offers the best path forward. However, some ECOWAS partners, notably Nigeria, perceive Ghana's neutrality as softness toward the military juntas. This has prompted speculation about whether Ghana might itself tilt toward a non-aligned position if tensions escalate further, a rumor Accra denies. Across the Sahel, the rhetoric of self-determination resonates deeply. Young people wave flags of their nations and chant slogans of freedom from neo-colonial influence. In Ouagadougou, murals depict Captain Traore as a Pan-African hero. In Niamey, posters read "Long Live the Alliance of the Free States." On social media, hashtags like #AfricaUnite and #SAHEL Power trend regularly. But critics warn that romanticizing military rule could undermine the very freedoms citizens seek. Human rights groups report restrictions on the press and civil society in all 3 countries. As the region's political narrative evolves, ECOWAS faces a tough question. Can it uphold democratic principles while acknowledging the grievances that fuel these popular movements? While the political drama plays out in conference rooms, on the ground the security situation grows worse. In May 2025, the Eknu attack in Niger killed more than 60 soldiers. A month later, a Malian base in Buli Kessi was overrun by jihadist fighters. These incidents underscore why the Sahel leaders argue for stronger regional self-defense. Their joint command now conducts coordinated operations across borders, often without ECOWAS involvement. Meanwhile, ECOWAS's own peacekeeping apparatus, once active in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia, has been largely dormant. Experts warn that 2 parallel security architectures are emerging in West Africa, one ECOWAS-led and the other Sahel-led, with little coordination between them. Beyond Africa, the realignment has caught the attention of major powers. The European Union and the United States have expressed concern that the Sahel Alliance's Russian ties could complicate counterterrorism efforts. Moscow, for its part, presents the partnership as mutually beneficial, a chance to strengthen sovereign security. China, meanwhile, has maintained a more measured tone, focusing on infrastructure investment and mineral access rather than political alliances. As a result, West Africa is becoming a stage for competing geopolitical interests, echoes of a new great game in the Sahel. At a summit in Abuja in August 2025, ECOWAS leaders reiterated their commitment to dialogue, but also stressed that unity cannot be built on defiance. Behind closed doors, sources say options range from targeted sanctions to partial suspension of cross-border trade. Publicly, however, the language remains measured. No one wants to trigger a conflict that could destabilize the entire region. Still, rumors of an ECOWAS security coalition mobilizing along northern borders persist, an idea ECOWAS officials neither confirm nor deny. As West Africa stands at this critical juncture, the stakes could not be higher. Will dialogue prevail over division? Or is the continent sliding toward a new era of blocs and rival alliances? When borders close or drift from coordination, the economic shock is immediate. For the three Sahel nations, trade with ECOWAS neighbors accounts for vital flows of goods, inputs, food, and services. Under the alliance's departure, customs systems shift, tariffs may be reimposed, and supply chains disrupted. In Niger, imports from Nigeria, food, fuel, manufactured pins, now face longer inspections or blockades. In Mali, machinery and spare parts for agriculture struggle to cross from Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire. In Burkina Faso, electricity lines and fuel pipelines linking it to Ghana and Ivory Coast risk turning into vulnerable choke points. These disruptions echo loudly in the regional economy. Inflation can surge, shortages multiply, and small businesses suffer most, the backbone of West Africa's trade network. The ECOWAS realignment also strains monetary stability. Recall, the CFA franc zone, backed by France and associated with the West African Monetary Union, provided currency stability and support to several member states. But Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso have alienated themselves from that structure. Their local currencies now endure speculative pressure and foreign exchange volatility. Debt burdens press heavy. Many of these states carry high external obligations. Loss of trade access and economic disruption shrink revenues, making debt servicing harder. Coupled with increased security spending, governments must decide: tighten austerity, seek foreign bailouts, or risk default. In the regional financial markets, investor confidence wobbles. Capital flight, credit contraction, and renegotiation demands may follow. Economic disruption rarely spares the vulnerable. Communities already battered by conflict, drought, and poverty now confront new crises. Food insecurity mounts as supply chains stall, prices of staples spike. People living near borders find once daily trade routes closed. Youth without jobs may traverse dangerous migration routes to Libya, Europe, or neighboring states. Displacement intensifies. UN and NGO estimates already put Sahel migration flows in the hundreds of thousands. Border closures create choke points where aid is delayed and families wait under harsh conditions. The burdens fall on host countries, in Nigeria, Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, which may see increased humanitarian pressure without international support. ECOWAS now faces hard choices. Option 1. Targeted sanctions, cutting off aid, suspending participation for AES members. Option 2. Military action. A standby force could be mobilized to reassert regional order. Option 3. Diplomatic pressure and mediation, working through the African Union, UN, or bilateral channels. Sanctions cost solidarity. Military action risks open conflict. Diplomacy may be slow. What combination ECOWAS chooses will signal its legitimacy or its limits in this new era. Neither ECOWAS nor AES operates in isolation. Global powers, Russia, China, the United States, the European Union, watch closely, offering aid, weapons, and political support. AES as Moscow meeting in April 2025 deepened ties and raised concern among ECOWAS states that Western influence in the region might be challenged. Nigeria and Ghana now face pressure to align with Western aid or regional unity. Meanwhile, nations like Turkey, India, and Gulf states may propose trade or security pacts to AES or ECOWAS states, further complicating alignments. In effect, West Africa becomes a chessboard, not just between regional actors but global powers seeking strategic footholds. What lies ahead? 3 main trajectories emerge. Scenario A. Negotiated peace. Through mediation by the African Union and ECOWAS, a compromise is reached. AES may return to a reformed ECOWAS structure, with new governance safeguards. Trade and security are restored, and regional stability holds. Scenario B. Parallel blocks. ECOWAS and AES continue side by side, with limited cooperation. Borders become semi-fortified lines. States choose alliances regionally. political fragmentation deepens. Scenario C: escalation and conflict. A confrontation, military or hybrid, spirals, proxy interventions deepen. The Sahel becomes a separate geopolitical zone, evacuated from West African integration. Each path carries consequences for people, economies, and Africa's role in global affairs. At stake, the future of African unity, the integrity of regional trade, the fight against insecurity, and the shape of global partnerships. If ECOWAS falters, regional order weakens. If the Sahel states mismanage ambition, they may isolate themselves. But if dialogue prevails, and reforms address root causes, a new order may emerge, one respectful of sovereignty and founded on cooperation. The world watches, not just Africa's neighbors, but the powers beyond. West Africa now stands at a crossroads.